Hey, what is up everyone? So recently I've been rewatching one of my favorite shows on Netflix, which is called The Ranch. And I got to the one episode that I think I can definitely say is the best moment in the entire show. And it's one of the most impactful emotional scenes. And I thought for this video, I wanted to talk about it, dissect it a little bit, and just kind of talk about the show in general. So some backstory to lead up to this scene, we're looking at Season 2, Episode 11, and I'm going based off how the metadata is, not exactly how it's set up in Netflix. So Season 2, Episode 11 is around like Part 4, I believe, the beginning of Part 4. And leading up to this, one of our main characters, Colt, was having a baby with another character named Heather, and that was causing some drama between Colt's current relationship that he had started after Heather got pregnant, and it was causing him to have to work a lot harder, working an extra job to try to pay for the medical bills, and just a lot of drama was caused from getting Heather pregnant. So this kind of story kind of built up over time, and then we eventually get to the Season 2, Episode 10, and at the end of that episode, we're left with a cliffhanger that we find out that Heather is in the hospital and that there's something wrong with the baby.
Hey, Mary. Now's not really good. Is everything okay? What happened? Fuck, yeah, I'll be right there.
Everything okay?
Heather's in the hospital.
What?
There's something wrong with the baby.
Thought you saw her today at the doctor.
I did. Everything was fine. I don't know what's going on.
Now, back when the show was running, there was a bit of a break between this episode and then the episode we're actually talking about, episode 11. But even if you're watching now, now that all the episodes are released, it's still a little interesting because when you start the next episode, it doesn't immediately address what had happened. And I think that was one of the best parts about how they did this whole thing, how it's set up, is that it's not just an instant payoff. We're not like in a hospital room seeing what happened. You just see basically a few months later, we don't even realize that it's a time jump, but there is some things that clue you in that there was some kind of time jump, such as Colt having a pretty big beard at the time that the episode starts compared to the previous episode. So as the episode continues, you see Colt acting a little bit strange compared to what we normally see from him. He is working a lot harder, which isn't necessarily saying that he wasn't working hard before, but he's a little bit more serious about work now. He is very adamant about buying their neighbor's ranch and kind of securing a future for him and his girlfriend Abby and their future kids and that whole future family there. And that was a big priority for him during the episode. And it gets to almost an obsessive level where he's really trying to get this completed. And it gets to the point when we get to the end of the episode where he goes to his girlfriend's house and he's talking about them buying the ranch together and selling some stuff to just buy it, and he's really adamant about getting it. And then Abby points out that the plan sounds a bit crazy and how she never really sees him without a bottle in his hand.
I mean, for the past month or two, you've barely slept. You don't eat. I mean, you've been working constantly. I don't remember the last time I didn't see you without a drink in your hand.
Champagne don't count. French, they give this to babies at weddings.
And this is what starts the scene that we're talking about in this video, and you start getting clued into what has been going on during this time jump. That he hasn't been sleeping, he's been over drinking, he's been solely focused on work, kind of cutting himself off from other things in his life. And we're clued into that something bad happened with the baby and with Heather. Not too much long later, we find out that Heather lost the baby, and this has really taken a toll on Colt. Him and Abby get in a little bit of a fight, but you can kind of tell that Abby is more sympathetic to the situation, but just doesn't really know how to help him in the situation. So she calls in Heather, and I think the scene between them two is the best one in the whole series. There's a lot of big emotional moments in this show, and I think this show does a really good job of balancing the drama with the comedy, and it's one of the reasons why I really like this show, and it benefits from being on a streaming service where it doesn't have to be as episodic, it can be more serialized, and this is an example of doing that really well. So Colt wakes up in the morning after being basically hungover, essentially from drinking obsessively, and he sees Heather there, and they begin to talk. And he starts to open up, and I think Ashton Kutcher's acting is probably at its best in this scene. You can really feel like both the emotional weight that he has on him, as well as just kind of the shame that he's feeling from his feelings about what had happened. And as the scene progresses, they talk about how they both felt somewhat relieved when this happened. Not that they didn't want to have the child, but that it solved a lot of their problems. And because of this, he felt extremely guilty for feeling that relief.
I felt relieved. I didn't have to go to my job at the Safeway that night. I didn't have to worry about money or a bunch of stuff I was unprepared for. I didn't have to worry about how having a baby with you is going to affect me and Abby. I hated myself. What kind of person's happy about something like this?
You don't think I felt the same way? Now I didn't have to worry about sticking my mom with another kid in the house. Dating's a lot easier when I don't have to say, hey, I'm Heather, I'm carrying another guy's baby.
That make you feel guilty.
Sometimes. It's definitely not something I'd tell anybody else.
And I feel like one of the reasons I really like this whole scene and how this storyline ended is that it just felt very realistic. It felt like real emotions that people would have. It doesn't feel like some soap opera drama. It didn't really come off as fake or inauthentic to me. This feels like how normal people would react to this kind of situation. And I really liked how it was built up throughout the episode where you're kind of wondering what had happened with Heather and the baby. Earlier in the episode, someone asked Colt about how Heather was doing, and he just said, yeah, Heather's doing fine. And he didn't really go into much detail, so we kind of just assume, and that was kind of like a red herring to kind of throw us off of what was going on. But eventually we learned that that's just him kind of trying to shut down his emotions. Maybe Heather was doing the same thing and kind of giving a brave face, but was also just dealing with the same emotions that Colt was having. Overall, I really love this scene and this episode and how they concluded the storyline, because you kind of knew that they had to go somewhere with the baby, that it wasn't going to be a good thing to keep going long term in the story, so it makes sense why they ended the story like this instead of having Heather have the baby and all that stuff, and then Colt raising a child along with his relationship with Abby. That all kind of makes sense why they ended it this way, but I feel like if they had to end it like this, they did it the best way they could. I also really like how they wrapped up the scene here, where it's a very emotional heavy scene, but then it kind of turned into a little bit of a, I wouldn't say dark comedy, but just kind of a little bit of a comedic moment where Colt asked Heather if she thinks they'd be good parents, and it just kind of results in a funny little outro for the episode.
Heather, I think we would have been good parents.
No fucking way.
So I don't have too much more to say about it. Honestly, I literally just rewatched the episode, and I probably have rewatched this episode like 10 times. I go through the whole series maybe like once a year, maybe every other year. So I really enjoy this show. If you haven't watched it already, I don't know why you clicked on this video, but I would definitely recommend checking it out, especially the first several seasons are really good. And that's all I got to talk about for the day. So let me know if you've watched the show, what's your favorite episode in the series, and let me know your thoughts and comments about what do you think about this scene as a whole. But if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you left a like and subscribed. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.